I want to welcome you to my Facebook Live. Today is Monday, it's 2:30, so here we are. Today we're going to be working with the Forever Lovely stamp set. It's new in our 2019 Occasions catalog. Let's see, there it is. I've made several different cards with it recently, and it kind of had a little bit of a learning curve, and so I thought I'd show you guys. It does come with some coordinating framelits, and so we will work with those as well. Let's see. Okay, here's the cards I've been kind of playing around with. My first ever one was this one, and yeah, it came out okay. I wasn't too thrilled, but I did learn how to line this up, so that was a plus. I tried it without the extra layers. I didn't like that as well, but I will show you how that's done. We did a thank you card in my last class using just the flower, just some simple pieces out of that set. This one here uses an embossed background, and I found a better way to do this die, so we'll go over that. And then this has been my most popular one. This one I did for our latest blog hop, and people just loved the way it just sparkled and glows, and we have the flowers going two different directions, and so that's the one we're going to work on today, and we're going to show you how I did that. This set is really beautiful. This die is the one that I used to cut this, and the first time that I played around with it, I didn't realize what side cut. I thought this side was going to cut, but actually it's this side. So if you look, there's kind of a little ridge right here, so you can see that this is going to cut. So this is what needs to be towards the top of the paper when we go to cut it. And then it went this way. And then this piece is actually what I use to cut the glimmer paper that's underneath, because what this does is it cuts out the same line, I guess, across the top, but it doesn't have all the detail in it. So this allows you to cut a solid piece of paper or a solid color that would go underneath and show through. And then this corner piece, this was another one that threw me for a little bit of a loop, because when it cuts, where'd that one go? If you look at it, it cuts down a little ways and over a little ways. I don't know if you can see that. And so I didn't quite get the frame, I was looking for here. And so what I did with the next one is I laid it on a piece of cardstock, and I laid the edge where the little thing was in the line of my trimmer and cut all the way off this way, and then turned it and laid this so that the little mark that it had made, the first little cut, I put that in the groove and again cut all the way to the edge. So that gave me a much better frame. And so then I was able to stamp the flowers in the middle of it. So that's what this does. It's also got some cute little, flowers. This die here will cut out this large flower. That's what was done on here. So that's this piece here. These little pieces here, those are the leaves that I have poking out from behind. This kind of looks like a dandelion to me. This would cut out leaves. This is leaves again, and they give you two of each of those, so that you can cut out more than one, so you don't have to crank it through and crank it through. You can do two at a time. And then on the inside of my card, I used the little dot things, and so that's this corner piece here. And so we'll go over that too. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this card in some different colors. I've already done it in the white, and you can see that. And if you like it in white, you can absolutely do it in white. I'm just trying to show you some different ideas, and I thought I would play around with another color. Let's see, I'm going to come in with ivory, or very vanilla. So I'm going to start with a very vanilla card base. And this, of course, is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And so that's going to give me that. And then once I fold that in half, of course, we have our card base. And then I cut a piece of our black. And this is actually black foil, and I believe it retired with the last catalog, but you could use a solid black. And then I'm going to bring in some of our gold glimmer. And I love the new Glimmer Paper. And I have to point out every time I use it, if you have used our Glimmer Paper in the past, it's better. I can't explain enough how wonderful this stuff is. I mean, the glitter, it doesn't come off at all. I mean, I'm rubbing on it and there's no glitter. It's fabulous. So I'm just going to cut a piece of that. Now, in order to get this, like I said, I used another piece of cardstock. Let's get one of those. And this one was cut to the standard, you know, cover of a card. We're going to go 4 inches by 5 1/4, which is also what I have this at. And then we're going to bring in the big shot. So here I have the magnetic plate. I like that on these kind of things because it's going to hold it still. And on the very vanilla layer, like I said, I want to make sure that this is what's cutting, is this side. And I want it kind of down a little. So I think I'll place it there. So I'm going to put this on the precision base plate and then try this again. Okay, that's much better. I don't know if you can see this, but now it's cut all the way through. I'm going to need this again in a second, so I'm just going to push this to the side. And then I've got my die brush here. I keep mine in a wood mount stamp case that I bought. You can buy them empty, the wood mount and the clear mount. And it just is the perfect thing for storing. Oops. There we go. The die brush and the little foam piece that comes with it, and then when you use it in there, the case itself actually catches the little pieces that we've just rolled out of there. And then we can take, you know, our scissors or take your pick tool and poke all those extra pieces out of there. So I'll have to go about doing that. But then I'm going to take this other piece, because this was our card base, remember, or the card front, remember the layer on there? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut another piece facing the other direction. So if that's going this way, then I need to take this one that direction. Are you following me here? And I'm going to roll this through. Let's see how we are here. Not quite. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push it towards the edge because you get a little tighter grip closer to the edges of the roller. Ah, yes. Now we're talking. There, that cut out beautifully. There we go. So that cut out very well. Now I'm going to set those aside, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, well, I have the big shot out. I'm going to take my gold glimmer, and then I'm going to take this straight piece, well, sort of straight piece, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces of this. And it won't actually matter what way it faces, because we're going to put it underneath on this one. And I probably should have moved back to the other base, because this doesn't have detail. Okay, so there's one, and now I need one more. So now we have our pieces. There we go. See how much difference the base plate made? Oh, much better. Now don't worry that this is up on an edge, because it's actually going to be cut off the top of the card. So don't panic that that's not straight. We're going to go ahead and fix that later. Jeez, I don't want to sit here and do this. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and take this piece and set it underneath. And obviously you'd poke out all the little holes. I'm just trying to speed things along for the sake of the video. But then you would attach it, you know, underneath, make sure it's got some glue on it, and line it up. And then you'll notice I didn't get this angle the same way as I got the other one, but that's just fine, because after you glue it on, then you would just come with your paper snips and you'd just trim this little bit of extra off. Not a big deal. So that'll be one part of it. I'll bring this back in so we can remember what we're looking at. So this piece would go on the bottom, and then this piece is going to go on the top. And like I said, we're gonna cut that part off. But I'm going to take this, and let's go ahead and put some adhesive on it. And we can go with our snail, we can go with liquid. Because we're going on to glimmer paper, it might have even been smart to use glue dots, because they're kind of a little thick. And it gets a better grip on the glitter. But I'm just trying to, I'm using the liquid because I wanted time to wiggle it. But now I think I've got that where I want it. Fairly close anyway. And like I said, don't worry that this hangs over the edge. We're going to go ahead and cut that, because you're not going to be able to see that it doesn't match on the back. That's perfectly fine. Then after the glue has dried a bit, we would bring in the trimmer. And then I'm just trimming off the top. So see, that's why I said that little, the fact that it was all jagged was not going to make a difference, because we just cut it smooth. And then that's going to adhere onto here with with a little bit of a reveal, matte, whatever we want to call it. You can see the black from behind. The black I have cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 so that it will matte on there. And then the Very Vanilla piece and the Glimmer Paper were both cut to 4 by 5 1/4. That's this piece. Anybody out there watching me, don't forget to make comments and share the video and let me know you're here so that you get entered into the prize drawings. I actually just got an order in recently of a bunch of the embellishments out of the new Occasions catalog, so I'll be sending those out this week to all of our video winners, the people that have commented and shared and talked to me while I'm on here and let me know I'm not alone. Okay, so there's our second piece. So that's going to go on the bottom. And then, I don't know, we can either leave this blank and put a sentiment down there, or we can wrap a ribbon around it. For this ribbon, the way I have this one done on is I just took a piece of ribbon and I wrapped it around this layer before gluing it down, and then attached it on the back with glue dots. Because I don't like trying to have to tie a bow in the front. Those of you that have watched me before, oh hi Vicky, thank you for commenting, that helps. I always worry I'm talking to myself. I don't like tying a bow, and especially on camera, I'm terrible at it. So this allows me to just wrap the ribbon around so that it looks like I wrapped it around to tie. And then I come back in and I can take my ribbon and I can make my bow and have more, I don't know, time to wiggle it, or it's not as cumbersome when you don't have all of the cardstock behind it. You know, you can just kind of play with it. And if you have one of those little bow builders, I mean, you can use that and make sure you've got it all straight. And then come in with the scissors and just kind of flag the ends of it. And then you can go ahead and put that down with glue dots. And so that just makes it simpler than having to wrap it all the way around and tie in the front. You know, it's up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. You know, go ahead and do what you're comfortable with. But I'm just here to show you some tips and tricks of what I've learned over the years, given my handicaps here. Okay, so there's our bow. Like I said, I'll come back with some glue dots. There we go. And there's the front of our card. And then we can go ahead and put this on the card front. I think I'm going to pop it up with some dimensionals. Of course, I grabbed the wrong size, but these will work for our purposes here. And so this could be a wedding card, it could be a birthday card, it could be a Valentine's Day card, anniversary. I mean, it just serves lots of purposes, but I liked the black and gold together. I thought it gave it a very rich look. But if you're not a black and gold person, of course, we've got our white and pink here. This is our rose glimmer paper and the sparkle glimmer paper behind it. And then on the inside of the card, I went ahead and lined it with, this piece is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then this piece is, let's see, looks like it's 3 3/4 by 5. And then in the corners, I mean, if you'll notice, I've got some of the rose glimmer paper behind there, but all that is like a 1-inch square that I glued behind there. So I don't have a whole sheet of the rose glimmer paper back there. I just have 1-inch squares. And then when I cut this piece for my backing, I actually went back in and cut out the middle. So I took a big rectangle out of the center and set that aside for another project, because I don't want to use all of my glimmer paper hidden. It's really easy to just cut out the middle, put this over it, and nobody's going to know. Oh yeah, this would be great for a 50th anniversary, wouldn't it? I mean, you could even emboss happy anniversary in gold right across the middle. That'd be really pretty. So that's how we worked with those dies. The other thing I wanted to show you is, like I said, we stamped behind the die on these other cards. Let's see. Got these ones I didn't like so much, but in order to get this to line up in the background, because you'll notice that it just fits over there perfectly. And we were, you know, a couple of us demonstrators kind of looked at it and thought, well, how did they get that perfectly lined up? Well, the answer is the Stamparatus. And what you would do is take your Stamparatus. Well, okay, we'll have to die cut a new piece here. So here's my card base. And then I'm going to take the Big Shot. Start with that first. Cut our base plate. So if you look at it, what I want to do is I want to cut across here. So I'm going to come back in with the precision base plate because we determined that worked much better. And then I have to cut just half, and it goes this way. So I'm going to come in this direction. And this part of the die cuts, so I'm going to make sure that goes up. And I'm just lining this edge up with my score line. And then we'll crank it through. Yes, cut beautifully. Cut all the way through. That's going to just fall right out. I mean, you wouldn't think the base plate makes that big of a difference, but it really does. Okay. So I've moved that out. So as you can see, it cuts right up to the score line, and that's it. So then I'm going to take my paper snips, and I'm going to come in here and just cut off this part. So there's my card base. Then I'm going to bring in the Stamparatus. And I'm going to set this in the corner. And then I'm going to take the stamp that we want to stamp with, and I make sure it's really clean. Hopefully it's clean. And then we're going to be able to set it down and maneuver it around and figure out exactly where it lines up. And then we take one of our plates and we come down and pick up our stamp. Then we open up the card, and now we're going to stamp directly onto this. Oh good, I'm glad you've learned a lot. That's exciting. Makes it worth doing these things. Like I said, I often feel like I'm talking to myself and wonder if this is doing any good whatsoever, but I'm glad it's working. Okay, now I need ink. So I'm going to come in with, let's go Melon Mambo. And I'm going to ink up the stamp. And come down. Okay, so now we've got that piece. Now there's a second stamp that will do the leaves that go around everything. And so again, you kind of lay it down and figure out where, if you look at it, there's a little stem right here. There's a stem that will go up and hit that flower. There's a little groove right here. There's kind of a V that fits that petal. I mean, you kind of got to look at it and see where the stems are lining up. But then you can come in either with your second plate, or you can flip this one over and use the other side. But now I'm going to pick up that piece, and then we're going to ink this in some green. I've got Mossy Meadow. And again, this is where ink spots might be a good idea, because then you won't get the ink on the plate. I don't want to transfer that over. And this is one of our chamois. I just cut it into fourths so it would be smaller pieces. It makes it easier to clean off the Stamparatus plates. So there it is. Now it lines up. So you could stamp your, sentiment on the inside, whatever it's going to be, a Valentine's Day or a birthday card or whatever. And you can choose if you want to decorate the outside. I think on the other one I had used some Glimmer Paper that I had in a strip. I'm sure there's more of it somewhere here. Okay, but on here I used this piece of the Sparkle Glimmer Paper because I didn't really have a layer I could wrap a ribbon around, so I just cut the Glimmer Paper to be the right size, that a ribbon would be. And then I wanted to put the sentiment on something I could pop up. Since this card is so one-dimensional, I wanted something to give it a little bit of pop. And so what I did is I took our Fancy Label Maker punch and some cardstock. Let's see, this is lovely lipstick, but you'll get the idea. So I'm going to punch this out in a color. I'm going to punch out a white one. And we might even want to, actually, let's do this first. Let's stamp in it, and then we'll cut it out. I tend to do that more often because it allows me to look at the back side and make sure that I've got everything lined up. So it's a whole lot easier for me to move this around and make sure I've got everything straight than it is to try to stamp into the punch after it's already been punched, if that makes any sense. So I'll take that. So there's our sentiment. And then I've got this colored piece, like I said, and I'm going to come in and put this on my trimmer, and I'm going to line the center of it up in the middle of the track, and I'm going to cut it in half. Then I can come in with a little bit of glue. And again, I like glue because it doesn't dry instantly. It gives me some time to wiggle things around. And then I can set this behind it and give it kind of a little border, just enough to give it some color so it pops. And I'll come in with the second piece. And see how it gives me that, it kind of slides around a little bit. So it allows me to make sure that all of my edges match and we're all lined up. And then I would be able to stick it onto my card after I had that strip. Oh, here it is. Oh, I knew I saved one. So here's our strip. And I always make them a little bit long and go ahead and cut them off from the back side because I'd rather have it too long and trim than have it too short. That's just me. And then I've got some dimensionals here. And like I said, I try to use all of my dimensionals, even this stuff on the edge, because I mean, it still works. So there's our new card. So we've made 2 cards today. I hope you enjoyed them and you got some good use out of our time spent here today. I'm here every Monday at 2:30 sharing my tips and ideas with you. And then after I'm done sharing this on Facebook Live, I add it to my YouTube channel. I hope that you join me and check out all my other social media and come back and see me next Monday. Thanks for watching. Bye.